Hello, everybody. We are going live. This is Earth-based advocacy for humanity, and I am Chastity, and I am here today again with the amazing Colin Joe, and we have some really fun things to discuss today. Well, every day we could go on and always have really fun things to talk about. I don't know about you, Colin, but this whole week literally has kicked my behind. I've been super tired. It's been a little bit for me to like pick myself back up and go, okay, where am I? I feel like I'm not sleeping super well. There's a lot going on in the field. When we get our collective going, boy, does it go, right? And you probably, I don't know how you're feeling over there, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's been quite crazy because, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the Schumann resonances peaked at about 20 hertz. And just to explain to people, for hundreds of years since Schumann resonances have been measured by Earth scientists when they discovered that the Earth has a resonance, a beat, a heartbeat,
Mm-hmm.
it resonated at about 7.8 to 8.5 hertz
Wow.
a second. Then it's slowly been increasing, and it reached a peak about 3 weeks ago of about 20 hertz, and then this last week it jumped to 43 hertz.
Gee. Well, that's definitely going to be explaining something, isn't it?
Yeah, because we as energetic beings are resonating with waves of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And our brains, when they measured human brain waves, they found that human brain waves resonate at the same resonance as the Schumann resonance.
Oh, interesting. Oops.
So, so if the Schumann resonance is raising, that's also going to probably lead to an increase in resonance in our own brains.
Yeah.
Okay, now the brain is in your head space, and they've measured this scientifically, what the resonance coming off the brain is. You've also got the heart space, and the heart actually generates a lot more energy than the brain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart is about 3 times more energy that it resonates at than the brain. So the increase in the Schumann resonance is probably going to heighten people's brains and their thought space, but it's also going to change their emotional state.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and create heightened emotions, so people will feel more intensely than they felt before, and they won't know why. And that's the great thing, is that, well, it's the great thing, but the sad thing also is that people don't know why that because we've used to a life where everything goes along and very nicely, and if our emotions get heightened, there is probably a reason for that, and there's probably something that we can um, you know um, justify and think about, and say, okay, it's probably that item or that thing that created my emotional state. But now what's happening is the emotional state is going to increase, and they have no rationality for that.
Right.
There's no rational explanation for that. And that can be very worrisome to a lot of people,
Yeah.
that they don't understand why they are behaving in this irrational way. And, and as we'll get into it later, in time, what happens is we're in an acceleration of time,
Yeah.
because we're at the end of an ascension cycle. And we'll go into that, how the vortex of these cycles work.
You know,
Um,
so,
but yeah, it's going to affect people in very different ways. Everyone's unique. Everyone's thought patterns are different. Everyone's emotional patterns different. So it's going to have different effects on different people. Some people will feel sleeplessness. Some people will feel a lot of nausea and dizziness, and some people will feel a lack of energy, so they just don't feel like doing anything. They have a lack of motivation, and and the real reason if people are feeling this way is because they're so used to being controlled by their external circumstances. So they've never really taken responsibility for their own experience, because you can experience these, you can have these heightened experiences if you know what's going on. And
right,
then they're not heightened. It's just, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, you have to first understand energy, frequency, and vibration.
right. I'm going to completely agree with you there. Um, would it be fair to say that the Schumann resonance that you bring up, is that then directly tied into, and for pardon my ignorance, I'm learning the language for these pieces, but would that mean then that the Schumann resonance is tied to our heart resonance, which then is tied into our emotional state?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if the heart has a rhythm, it beats, okay? So what this increase in rhythm is going to mean for some people that their heartbeat will increase slightly. I mean, it won't increase to any great extent, but it will increase slightly. And that increase of the heartbeat will mean that they need more food to create the energy, or they need to spend more time in the sun because the sun also gives you energy.
Right.
So our lifestyles are being very heavily challenged by these changes in the Earth's resonance. But there's a reason for it, and it all happens for a reason, and it's not an unknown thing, and we shouldn't be concerned about it. What we should be concerned about is our ignorance of what's actually happening. That's the real concern we should
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. I want to share an experience with you, and maybe you can help the listeners understand, because I think it's happening to other people too. I'm reading a lot of people's experiences. They're sharing their stories more and more on social media, or I'm seeing it coming up with clients. So this was really strange, Colin, and it's going to be a little bit of a mind bender for a lot of people. But I was sitting on my couch and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And so I saw like what seemed to be a woman in a blue sweatshirt. And I thought, oh, maybe my neighbor is out there. And I look and I don't see my neighbor. And I thought, oh, that's really weird. And then I felt like, not felt, I mean, I actually could see again. And this wasn't in my mind's eye. It's not like when I was, working on somebody or we're working interdimensionally. This was like, I'm sitting on my freaking couch. So then I thought, I saw it again. I thought, oh my gosh, I really don't want to have to deal with a ghost or someone trapped. Like, I don't want it hanging around the house, right? And then I kind of felt into the situation. I thought, oh my gosh, that's not a ghost at all. What it was literally was me in a different timeline. I was literally living my life in the same place, but doing something completely different. And
Yeah.
I actually reached out to a friend and I thought, have I gone mad? What is happening? And so I'm hoping that maybe you can help explain a little bit of what timelines are, and how, as we start moving out of the the first harmonic or the earth frequency, this heavy density, right? And we start embodying more and more of ourselves. Those are different timelines, right? Help us understand. I don't know, maybe what, how am I sitting on my couch and literally seeing another timeline of me doing something different?
Yeah, well, as I said, Nikola Tesla, and I'm going to say this again later on because I was promised to say this 3 times tonight. If you want to understand how the universe works, you have to understand energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay. Now, if you look at what is vibration, vibration is the number of beats within a certain time period. They're peaks and troughs, frequency. So vibration creates frequency. So the Schumann resonance is creating frequency, a wave of frequency. Okay. Now let's look at what frequency really are. Our entire experience of reality is based on the frequency that we experience. Okay. And that energy that creates that experience is from our thoughts and our emotions and what we are experiencing. Okay. So what we are experiencing is a hologram that we create. My higher selves call it a reality field. And a reality field is just a field in which you experience a reality of being manifest as a physical form. But behind that, it's the energy that one is meant to produce that creates that experience for you. Now, mankind has been producing an experience that is not self-determined. Their experiences are based on the indoctrination that they've received of how things are actually and how things actually work, which is totally false because we are energetic beings. Everything is about energy. And as Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, you have to understand energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, if one gets into timelines, what we experience in our hologram is a sequence of events. Okay, so each moment is a sequential experience of some event or other. Whether one's sitting down and not thinking, whether you're sleeping, you're still experiencing something which is an event. Okay, and then you get this rhythm, the pulse, the vibration of the universe that works in a particular way. Everything works this rhythm of the universe. The earth spins around every 24 hours. The earth takes 365 and a quarter days to go around the sun. The planets in the universe all work together in a certain way so that you don't have planets kind of bashing into each other. And that is all based on frequency, rhythm, and vibration. Okay, it's the number of sequence of events that one experiences in any particular point in time. So in understanding timelines, there are different timelines of experience, and humans have been captured, our consciousness has been captured in a non-determinist timeline. Someone else is determining the timelines that we are experiencing. So in order to do that, they have to keep us traumatized, they have to keep us in fear, they have to create events that control us. They like this COVID-19 thing, it's just another event that was being created to control human beings. I hope we don't get banned from Facebook for that.
I have to use it. We have to use that code word, and we're actually live on Facebook for the first time in forever. And then, but maybe not live on we're live on YouTube, but not live. Maybe not live on Facebook. I'm having some issues trying to figure this out, so that would be really very curious. We'll have to go to the brand new tube, I think it's called.
Yeah, yeah. So we are only having a certain experience, but it's a limited experience.
Mm-hmm.
A limited experience of ourselves as individuals. Okay, so we born, we entered into the system, we get a name, our parents give us a name, we are registered into the system, which then captures our souls, because the Roman Catholic Church in the 13th century, the Pope declared what they call a papal bull, which it declared that all human souls belong to the Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
So they created a whole system around that, so that to ensure that humans are their consciousness is captured, and they only have this narrow experience of time and space, because everything within that narrow band of frequency is controlled. Okay. So what I'm about to tell people is going to like blow a few fuses in their minds.
Nothing like blowing a few fuses. It'll be okay. We can recover.
Yeah, but and this information came from my higher selves, who explained that time works in this way. Now, time is just, it's a sequence of events along a wave of energy. Okay. And the deterministic factor of that energy are the thoughts and emotions of people that create a time potential. Potential comes from the word potent, which means power. Okay.
Okay.
Potentius is Latin, power. And so we have this potential. Each person has different potentials within a certain timeline. That's why some people can be experience really a bad time, and then suddenly they're projected onto a good time. Okay, it almost seems coincidental in their lives or an accident, but it also works the other way, where people are having good experiences and suddenly they're projected down into bad experiences. And that's because we are reacting to what we are being given from outside of ourselves.
Right.
Okay, so, and the fallen ones keep interjecting in human lives.
Right.
Through their role here is to traumatize us, control us, and to buffet us. You have this continuous buffeting.
And is that because they have to have us to survive? Like they need something we have to survive, or is it just for kicks? Like some people are like, I have really great ideas on that. I think they need to feed off of us, but a lot of people don't know that. So
Yeah,
why
well,
why are they causing the cause and effect in keeping us in that lower vibration? So all we're doing is reacting, and we're stuck in trauma.
yeah, well, they do it for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is we are great producers of gold, because the earth is very rich in gold. And that's one of the reasons they came to earth. But they are lazy. They don't want to mine the gold. They wanted somebody else to mine the gold for them. So they created the system of, gold miners and economies and all the lies that go around that. And and they had us mining the gold, because what they do with the gold is they take the gold and they export it through trade into other time-space continuum and other planets. And they also create something called monoatomic gold. It's called white powdered gold that they actually sniff like cocaine. And
Interesting.
that gives them a high, that gives them this feeling of superiority. That makes them feel like they are the rulers of the world. And they understand the technology behind monoatomic minerals, principally gold, but they also create monoatomic silver, monoatomic platinum, and various other monoatomic substances, which are not as powerful as gold is. So monoatomic gold is to them a source of energy.
You're blowing my mind right now because I've never ever heard this. But you know what's really curious is I use something that I call a Celestine fire, and it is a white gold powder. Energetically, I use this, and it clears out the energy body. It also heals and seals rips and tears in the aura. Is this the same thing?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong intrinsically with white powdered gold. It has very powerful properties, and humans use it as well, quite effectively and transformatively. But they also use it, and they've been using it on a mass scale here. And then they also.
I have so many questions. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, go ahead, ask the question.
What do they need it for?
Well, gold has a property in that it's superconductive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's one of the most powerful conductors. And what does conductivity mean? It means a way to transfer energy.
Yeah.
So they are able to keep their energy fields conductive, so they can produce the energy they need in order to sustain themselves, and then the next thing they do is they also feed off human traumatized blood. Okay, because when a human is traumatized, it produces adrenochrome.
Right.
Because your adrenals get heightened, and they issue a substance that is very energizing for the fallen ones. So it's in their interest to keep us traumatized, so that they can feed off the traumatized humans.
Okay. Oh my goodness. This is going to open a whole nother can of worms. I just want to check your audio really quick. I was finally able to kind of see some comments, and some people are saying there's a little bit of cutting out. So I want to make sure that we're pretty clear. If somebody wants to give us a shout out and just kind of see how the audio is working now, that would be very cool. So if you want to say some words, Colin, while we just kind of check our audio.
Okay. Just let me check my audio settings. I see my volume's gone down. I'm going to push my audio volume up a bit.
Perfect.
Is that better?
Yeah. Give us a shout out if that's better. That would be great.
Yeah, I had it on automatic adjustment, but when I checked earlier, it was much higher than it is now. So it automatically adjusted downward. I don't know why.
Perfect.
Let me know if there's a problem.
All right. I haven't heard anything yet, so we'll just keep going. I can actually hear you better, but I wasn't having any issues, so I didn't catch anything breaking up on my side. So anyway, if there's any more issues, just holler at us and we'll go. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's better. Perfect. Thank you, Colin. Okay.
The audio settings in the audio little microphone at the bottom. if they, this little arrow, if they click on the arrow, and they can do their settings, it's right at the bottom. And then if they increase the volume of their settings, they'll get better volume.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like you're coming in better. So they're saying they hear you better. So this is great. Okay, so we're going to go back to my mind is going to be hung up on when you say the fallen ones, and then you put that in line with what our adrenals create and what they want, right? This makes me start to go, okay, well, hold on. Are some of the fallen ones human beings, or do they just appear as human beings to us? I think that is something that obviously can take us down a whole nother road, but I think it's important to know and understand how that dynamic works.
Yeah, well, in 2014, the off-planetary fallen ones were removed from our solar system, and they were offered sanctuary somewhere else. So they've been removed, and then we were tasked here to actually remove the fallen ones that are on planet. Now, they are two different groups of beings. So some who are bloodline families, so that they have been here for a long time. They were produced by introducing the DNA of the Nephilim. And the Nephilim then had certain families, and the Nephilim were very large giants. Okay, they were considered to be giants, but they had very strong genes. So they were introduced here, but they died after the flood. They were wiped out by the flood, but their bloodlines still remain here. And they are called what are called the bloodline families. So these are people who have Nephilim genes. They don't have human genes. They have Nephilim genes. And as long as they keep their bloodline separate from integrating with other human families, you know, when they keep their bloodline pure, they retain the Nephilim consciousness. And the Nephilim consciousness is without empathy, compassion, understanding. They have a different soul structure completely to the human soul. So we got this group of bloodline families on this planet who've been running things here for thousands of years. And then we have other beings who are, what are called walk-ins. Okay, they have negative beings come and take over the souls and walk into their bodies and then take over their bodies. But the beings that are taking over their bodies are reptilians. Yeah, the reptilians know how to do that. They understand the technology. So they live inside these beings, but they're not human.
Yeah, you can kind of see those like anchored in. They kind of like anchor in the lower frequencies, almost like a shadow body. Do you kind of see them, and then that's how they control then the central nervous system? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah. When they walk into a human soul, what they do is, you see, they are soul beings, and humans are soul beings, and the energy and the form of the human is derived from their souls. The energy in their souls and the soul codes they hold in their soul codes. So what these beings do is walk into what's the word I'm looking for? Complementary or beings on Earth who have similar soul codes to them, so that they can then run the human body without harming the soul of the being that they've arrested and taken over, because that would be a violation of universal law.
So they'll have some of that DNA in their own blood.
Yeah, because what they then do, progressively, they convert the human DNA into reptilian DNA.
Interesting.
And so then they have what is called the reptilian brain.
Yeah.
That is devoid of any compassion. They're basically sociopaths and psychopaths.
Right.
They don't have any compassion. They're liars, cheaters, stealers, and they don't have any sense of guilt or conscience. They really are they just want to survive,
Mm-hmm.
and they whatever is necessary to survive, and
Yeah.
they will hurt and do whatever is necessary. So yeah, they're a bunch of beings that are devoid of conscience. They're devoid of any feelings of compassion or love or kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met quite a few of them in my time.
It's interesting. I've always been under the impression that it's probably not a good idea to say when you recognize one. I don't know. Not that they can jump and attack you or anything, but they can kind of, right? So, or certainly make your life miserable.
Yeah.
But really interesting. Can this happen then on other? Uh, it, this is kind of a complicated question, but can this same thing happen on other timelines without your knowledge, and then eventually just take over your entire existence? Or am I kind of just being a little crazy here? Am I making sense?
Yeah, well, to some extent, I think I understand your question, and it's like I said, we are operating a very narrow, a broad band of frequency
Mm-hmm.
that keeps us traumatized, keeps us feeling guilty, being afraid, and in low self-esteem mode. They keep us in victimizer mode, so we feel like we're victims. So we need a God out there who's going to come rescue us, and so they just feed their system that feeds human consciousness, so that human consciousness keeps repeating the same patterns of behavior so that they can control human beings. But that is beginning to change because the whole frequency of the planet is changing. And when the frequency changes, what happens is timelines are frequencies of energy. It's a sequence of events along a certain frequency. And um, there are 12 timelines of potential. There are 12, for each potential, there are 12 probability timelines. Okay, so that makes 144 probabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Then each 144 probabilities, there are 12 timelines of possibility. So that creates 1,728 timelines of reality.
Right.
So our consciousness is potentially on all of those timelines.
Yes. Isn't that mind blowing? I was just doing a meditation last night. I wanted to try to prepare for today's conversation, and there's like a time clock, right? And so these times, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like 1 and 7, 2 and 8, like somehow the time are they called time vectors? How they come in and where they anchor into our bodies are actually where the chakras are. So these come in and anchor. I want to say 1 and 7 is the root chakra, right? And that just goes into the 12. That doesn't go into the 13, 14, 15, right? But is it our goal then to collapse these and into one and then stream them? And is that possible?
Yeah, look, I was told, but I've never actually seen them or researched them much, but they're what are called the universal timekeepers,
Yeah. Yep.
who are masters of time.
Yep.
So they can interject. So just imagine a movie. It has different frames, and each frame going through the projector is, produces an image on the screen. And when these images go through the screen, they create an illusion of events that people watch, and they hear the sounds, and so they become involved in this. It pretty much works like that. Now, what they can do is they can splice time. So they can take one part of time and then take out another part of time and splice,
Put them together.
put them together. It's just like a movie. That's how they edit movies.
Interesting. Yeah. And then that dissolves. That just goes back to source, the part that was cut out.
Yeah. Yeah, because no time, that is not recorded. Everything in the universe is recorded. And there's a recording system that is called the oh my, how can I forget this?
It's okay. It's in the records. I know there are a couple different record storages. There's Akashic, but then there's also I don't know if the hall is it Akashic, but then there's the halls of Amenti, and I don't know what the difference is between the two.
Well, look, there's the Akashic records and the Akashic records. The Akashic records record our emotions. It's like the sound line in a movie. It's recording the sound.
Got it.
And Akashic records are recording the events, the actions in the movie, and the words that are spoken. So you have these two things, and they go into what is, that happens at the universal level, but at the multiverse level in the God worlds, there's something called the Hall of Records, and everything is stored. So all information feeds into the system, and it's always stored there. So you can't fool the universe, because the timekeepers, the masters of time, what they've tried to do is splice in, so hoping that the universe will forget what actually happened, but it doesn't forget anything.
No, and there are lots of there's actually scientific projects that show that, right? Or not projects, but you know what I mean, things.
We had recently in our experience something called the Mandela Effect, where people had different experiences of time in the past, when some people actually thought, for instance, Nelson Mandela had died in the 60s. So when he appeared again in the 1990s, they thought, but he died in the 60s. How could he die?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets its name from, the Mandela Effect. But I started looking into this, and I saw that people had different understandings and different experiences even in books, that and advertisements and brands and different things. If one, it was fascinating for me to go and research this, but people all over the earth had experienced a different event.
Yeah. It's strange. It's very strange, but you can even break that down into a much smaller construct, and two people having a conversation view it completely different. We have different experiences, right?
Yeah.
It's we're both in the exact same space, essentially, right? We're interacting together, and we have a different memory of the conversation or the outcome. Or I read this quote one time that said that the problem with communication is people think it's happening. Right.
Yeah. That thing that actually, that we don't really know how to communicate with each other, because we always tend to be communicating from our heads, with our hearts, and once we begin to learn to communicate with our heads and our hearts, we will change our mode of communication, because people keep secrets from each other. The reason they keep secrets from each other is because they're afraid that if the other person knows the secret, they might do it against them, because that's the pattern of human behavior. You know, if you found out that I was the guy who killed your dog, I might have done it accidentally, but you found your dog in your mouth. And so I'm going to keep that a secret. I don't want you to know that I killed your dog. So instead of going to your house and saying, listen, I'm sorry, I was playing with, a device and it shot off and it killed your dog. I'm sorry, please forgive me, and I'll pay you back. We don't want to go through that process of repentance, reconciliation, restitution, and so we avoid those things. So we keep everything a secret. So we manufacture a reality that is a false reality in our heads. Whereas if you communicate it from the heart, you would understand that this family next door to you that you've killed their dog, we're going to grieve. And you should also grieve because they are grieving. So instead of being empathetic, kind, we go into this reptilian type of brain scenario where we keep secrets from each other. And we admit to harm, we don't admit to guilt, we don't admit to, the things, and we just keep hiding all the stuff. And so our hearts get overfilled with, negative energies and negative experiences and guilt and fear and low self-esteem, because they work together. When you feel about something that harms your self-esteem, so you feel less of a person because you're hiding something from your neighbor. And when you're hiding something from your neighbor, you have guilt, low self-esteem, and then you're afraid of the consequences. So keep going this loop, it's of self-defeat.
That's what I was going to say, self-defeat, self-sabotaging. And that's exactly where the fallen angelics want us to be. They want us to stay. And that's why it's done that way. And I have an interesting question. We have, so they've created what we now know today as linear time, which we know isn't real, right? Like it's a construct. I mean, time moves spherically, right? But we've created, we get up at 6 or we get up at 9, and then we work these work hours, and then we have to, the craziest thing to me is here, I don't know if you guys do it there, but we have to set our clocks back actually coming up. And then they say we actually gain an hour. And I'm like, in whose mind do you actually think you gain an hour by setting the clocks back? Makes no sense to me. But so my question is, so in session work, I've actually been able to go in and collapse several timelines at a time, right? And then you can see them merge, they come together, do their swirly things and do what they need to do for integration. And then sometimes the person's knocked down for a little while, right? Depending on what they're having to integrate. But do you think, or has your higher self shared with you in your travels that we are then going to break out of this linear time and self-actualize time as it is? Like, are we going to be able to experience it as it truly is anytime soon?
Yeah, well, it's actually happening at the moment, and that's why the Schumann resonances are bouncing up so high. Is in the universe, there's something called the circadian rhythms. Okay, now the circadian rhythms is the law that governs all the rhythms of planets and stars and universes, and creates this whole perception of time. It's also creates it's created from what is called the pulse in the heartbeat of God. Okay, the rhythm that goes out, and then that creates this rhythmic system of cooperation, and everything cycles around and spirals around into amazing patterns. I was once shown how it works, and it was like just mind blowing. I can't put it into words.
Yeah, there's a lot that can't go into words. It just, it doesn't work like you see it or experience it. And then I don't know, like our brain, our brain just can't, there's no words for it, there's no comprehension for it.
Yeah, if you want to understand this, go look up the Mandelbrot fractals.
Yeah.
Mandelbrot fractals.
Mendelbrock, thank you. And
Mandelbrot.
it's in your teachings. Like I was watching this in your classes. So for those of you who haven't taken any of Colin's courses yet, they're absolutely mind blowing. They're helpful, right? They're helping break down in ways that our brain can comprehend this. And so thank you for that, Colin, for being so very clear in how you explain it. And you're very calm, and it's really beautiful to experience. But I was watching, I don't remember what part it is, but studying some more on the timelines, and then getting into the holographic aspects of our realities. And probably the best I've ever I've done very little of my own reading. I've just done self-sourcing. So when I find someone's readings, or I'm led to, it's moreover, I'm led to, my higher self says, here's the deal, we're going to go talk to this guy, or because I don't want to bring in a whole bunch of information that, and then take on somebody else's, reality, right? I don't know how to explain that, but this is it's very easy to comprehend these very confusing, mind bending, maybe confusing is not the word, mind bending, they're just different ideas that are things that we're not taught in school, that we should be taught. We should be taught who we really are and what we really are, what our universe really is.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually taught a lot of nonsense, actually, really.
Yeah, even in the New Age community, a lot of, and just that, I don't even like that word, but or that phrase, right? It's kind of been manipulated so much. But I have even been told that it's not okay to think of ourselves as holographs, or our world as a holograph, because that's the wrong way to think. You're here to have a human experience, and it's like, wait, how is it not okay to think you're that you're not holographic when you actually are? So how are you going to have a true, authentic human experience if you're not experiencing like what you are? That
Yeah.
that one left me baffled. I was like, what?
People in that narrow time band of potential, they won't reach out beyond that and say, hang on, I've got this potential. So each choice I make, every thought I have, every emotion I feel is going to determine which timeline of potential I'm on. And then once you're on a higher timeline of potential, then you have different frequencies of probability that come off that timeline. So imagine a wave creates a wave, it creates 12 waves, and then each of those 12 waves creates 12 waves. And all of those are experiences in time. And we have a smorgasbord of choices on which timeline we want to experience ourselves. And what we're doing here is keeping ourselves in this narrow band of potential, probability, and possibility, because we keep ourselves in this low frequency thought patterns, low frequency emotions, and we can get out of that. It's just a question of knowing how it works, And my higher self, when they told me in 2014 I must go explain to everybody how this works, I said, oh my God, am I ever going to explain this?
Right.
And then he said, explain it simply. So I said, what do you mean? He said, because if you can't explain it simply, you don't really understand it yourself.
Yeah. And that's really what mastery is, right? Once,
Yeah,
once you understand um, uh, what being a master is or mastering something, then you're able to then relay or teach in a way that is other people can comprehend it, can digest it, one
yeah.
little spoonful at a time.
It's such a big body of information
Yeah.
that one can't learn it in 1 year or 2 years.
No,
You,
there's
I spent 3 years learning this stuff and trying to put it all together in the beginning. It confused the hell out of me in the beginning, like A related to B or C related to D, and I couldn't put all the stuff together.
yeah,
But after the 3 year period, it started to make sense because I could see how the mechanics of creation work with the mechanics of the hologram,
yeah,
and how the mechanics of the hologram works with times and timelines experiences, and how timelines of experience create different reality fields, and and then you get into the multi-dimensional nature of reality, and how the universe actually works, so that we have these narrow experiences of in these bands of frequency that are called dimensions. And how do the dimensions work? The multi-dimensional nature of reality. And then you get to learn about, well, why does all this, why is this all going on? And then you learn about the soul, the evolution of the soul, and how we are just God experiencing himself through us,
yeah.
having these experiences, and the purpose of those experiences to become more like God. So it's God recreating himself, but giving us the experiences and the choices to be like him,
Mm-hmm.
be like the creator, to be creator beings. And
Right.
people don't realize that they are creator beings. They are creating their own experiences.
Yep. And they're spending, and that's because of that's because of the controllers. They have conditioned us for thousands of years to look outside of ourselves for the answers.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
here we are, we're out here looking around. Who is God? What is God? What is truth, right? Show it to me, show it to me. And not taking the time to go inside and experience it and feel it and understand it and then, live it. Um, it's my understanding, and I don't know, I know we're going to have to finish up here. If anybody has any questions they want to shoot out, please do before we head out of here. We uh, have had access to up to about 15, I think, kind of dimensional aspects. But it's my understanding that, and of course we can go higher than that, and there's so many, as you said, right? But it's my understanding that we've kind of broken through a whole new another phase. This is going to go beyond like, people talking about 5D Earth or whatever. But and we can go into this next conversation or as time goes on, but that different dimensions have been opening up like 16, 17, 18. And I'm kind of curious if that's going to be in terms of like, are we going to be finding new chakras in our energy field? And, will those kinds of things be brought into us? So we can save that for another time, but just kind of want to kind of put that out there because there's so much more that's uh, coming out. So taking a little bit of that into consideration of does that reconstruct our light body, and what will that look like? So yeah, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to pop them into the what's it called? The chat space. This is gonna re-go out, so I will send it out. It looks like maybe we had a little bit of issues on the regular Facebook. There was some in a private group that played, and then one on YouTube that played beautifully. So yeah, thank you.
And you
Go
can
ahead.
track technology. No idea.
No, it's good. I don't know. It is what it is, right? And when I am able to get on all these places, everything on my screen is sharing. So that's really interesting too. So it is what it is, right? It's all going to be just fine. Thank you, everybody. That is,
I'd just like to wrap up quickly
yeah,
about timelines. We can maybe take this up some more next week or some other time.
absolutely.
But what determines the timelines of potential are our thoughts and emotions.
Mhm.
That's where our primary energies come from, because thoughts are waves of energy, brain waves. Ever heard that term, brain waves?
Yeah.
Because thoughts are energy, emotions are energy. Like when we go for an ECG, they're measuring the thoughts and our emotional responses coming from our bodies that are an electromagnetic field. So humans are electromagnetic beings. And so the primary potential that we have comes from our thoughts and emotions. And when people start taking responsibility for that, then they will have a different potential.
Yes.
So that. And then you get the timelines of probability, and those are determined by our standards and values. So you have good thoughts and good emotions, and then you get to probability. How do you put yourself into a higher timeline of probability of what is achievable? Okay. And it's based on our standards and values. So even if you have high potential in terms of your thoughts and emotions, but you have low standards and values, it drops you down into a different timeline.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you have high standards and values, then that puts you into a higher probability timeline. And what determines the timelines of possibility are our attitudes. So if you have good attitudes, you can have better experiences. Okay. And if you have bad attitudes, you can have worse experiences.
Yes.
So we have the smorgasbord of possibilities, potential probabilities and possibilities that we can have if we know how to manage it properly.
Mm.
And we have to start understanding what reality really is.
Yeah.
It's not about the degrees or the education you've had. It's about the character of your person, the character of the soul that determines the experiences that you can have. So, and the universe has given us all this knowledge on how to do this, but people continue to discard it and not give any confidence to it. And one of the greatest geniuses on this planet, Nikola Tesla, said, if you want to understand the universe, understand energy, frequency, and vibration. That will explain everything.
Yep.
Now, I really encourage people to take that in and say, are my experiences determine what I'm experiencing outside of me? Or can I self-determine my own experiences through the frequencies, the energy that I produce? And I produce them through my thoughts, emotions, standards, values, and attitudes. And that increases the frequency of everything. And this is just basic stuff.
I know, right? It's in my mind, I was like, gosh, I wish that they explained mathematics this way, right? Because it's all, the conversation is math. And I've always been afraid of math, and you just make it so simple because that's all it is. It's actually really simple. And once we understand the correct ways, then everything comes so much easier. It's not a challenge. It's not painful. It's not uncomfortable. You don't get headaches. You're not, You're not going, I don't get it. I don't get it. You're going, what else can I create? What else can I create? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I want to say thank you so much, Colin. I'm really loving our conversations. I'm loving taking your classes. Everybody, please, everyone that showed up live, that's still live, please make sure that you like or leave a comment. Leaving a comment is going to be easier for me to mark your name down. I really want to continue to, while we can, offer a drawing for somebody to take Colin's courses for free. He's been so generous. I also have a meditation for those of you that want the meditation. It's a mini clearing from myself. Please inbox me or just put down, yes, meditation, please. And I'll send that to you. We're really excited that you're all here. So thank you so much for listening. Have your questions ready. Anything you want to talk about next week? We're going to show up same time, same place, same channels, we hope, maybe more as we go on. Anyhow, thank you so much, Colin. So go to the writings of Colin Joe. Is it Colin Joe Byrne or the writings of Colin?
The writings of Colin Joe. Yeah.
Thank you. The writings of colinjoe.com. Check out his stuff. And you can find me on Facebook and on Patreon. I have some new classes starting up. And I do still offer live session work. So, and that would be theartofmeta.com. So much love to you guys. Thank you so much, Colin. So much love to you.
Thank you. I love you, and I'm so grateful for your service, and willing to be a servant to humanity in this.
Thank you. I'm really jazzed about it, and I love you too. I'll see you soon.
Love you. Bye.